I hope this doesn't fall off because I have this on a balance beam. Hello there. Let me see. I don't have no lip liner on. I'm over here feeling childish. Happy Tuesday, y'all. Happy Tuesday. You know, we're all about tracking the wins, quantifying all of the things. Welcome, 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 welcome. Come on in, come on in. We're going to talk about some of the lessons I have noted from just doing a checkpoint, right? And this is more so me kind of taking a step back and seeing what my own quantification looks like in breaking down my target. So I set a target in August and said that I want to have a client portfolio of $1 million in raises. And so one of the things that I did was like, well, let me just tap back in with at least like the last few clients, and already at 254 easily and averaging 42,000 per raise, which honestly feels right to me. Feels like we're on track. I would like to increase, and so what I plan to actually increase the average salary to about 50, and just doing small tweaks. But one of the things I wanted to do, that I am doing actually rather, is sharing some of the things that I have noted and noticed about what the process from a coach perspective looks like for somebody that actually goes after and gets it, right? So look at my bare apartment. Also, by the way, I am moving, okay? Moving. So it's just me, myself, and I. It's mad air, the sound is over here ricocheting back over to me. But if you're new here, welcome. And honestly, I'm also going to put a note for the majors, to do the majors in case. And on September 30th, that is my birthday. Woo! Everybody cash at me. So yeah, I want to talk with y'all about some of the things that I've noted about the people that have made the pivot, and they didn't. I personally, obviously, just from communicating who I am and where I position myself as a coach, is helping y'all understand that you don't have to take a pay cut with a career switch. With that in mind, I did note that it's more than just the pay cut. We're not trying to survive. We're trying to thrive out here. Like, yeah, like that's, I want us to start to talk about the fact that we move on loss. We very much so move on loss, when the reality of it is there's so much to gain. We focus a lot more on let me not project onto y'all. My observations for the people that want to get it, but some way, somehow are not able to see it, is their focus point. It's the focus point. This is not toxic positivity either. This is the focus point on what they are willing to drive their attention to. If you are driving your attention to loss, if you are driving your attention to your whack manager, if you are driving your attention to the fact that you feel like you are unqualified, if you are driving your attention to all the things that you lack, you are empowering all the areas that you lack instead of seeing all the beautiful things about yourself. This is just a life hack. It's really a life hack, but I really want to kind of double down. I actually wrote down notes. Hold on, let me grab it. I wrote down notes. Don't fall. I wrote down notes on on the three key things that I noticed around the people that not only made the pivot, they got so much more from that. They made so much more than that. It wasn't just a matter of sustaining and not losing money. They really redesigned their career. And I think that's the difference between thinking about a career switch as just like, oh, I think I want to do something creative, or I'm tired of this, and just like, let me actually reimagine what I want my life to look like. And in me reimagining what I want my life to look like, I'll recognize that the marketplace actually values things that I forgot about, right? So with that being said, I'm going to pull up 3 notes that I have recognized with the people that were making 30, 40, 50, 70K jumps, right? And again, the average of these jumps were around 42, 43. My goal, my intention is to push even further. And this is something that I just believe that everybody can do. Like, it's truly what everybody can do. It's really a matter of, are you self-aware enough to know that you may be using disempowering language, or you have a belief system that is keeping you weak and keeping you small? It's the truth. Like, it's really the effing truth. That oftentimes we are the person that is in our own way. So let me just share with you who I work with so y'all have an idea. Because September 30th is the end of the majors applications. I'm actually I'm not working with any more clients after that date. And it's just going to be primarily me just getting my folks over where they need to get to, and maybe doing podcasts and stuff. I don't know. But with that being said, so I work with seasoned professionals. What does seasoned mean, right? I'll talk about that. But I work with seasoned professionals that work in corporate America. So these are middle management folks. These are people that are maybe managers. They've been at their role for at least 5 years, but somehow after that point, they got stuck. So in the clients that I've worked with, they have been anywhere from 5 years of experience to all the way up to 15. And somewhere in their head, there was a lack of strategy that makes them feel like they are not qualified to go after roles strategically, because the work philosophies and the feedback that we have gotten about how to manage our career has very much so been get your foot in the door, take a pay cut, and work yourself back up. It's a lot. Where's a Carly Reb GIF from Love and Hip Hop Atlanta, where she was like, it was all a lie? That's what I be talking about. It was really a lie. There is strategy in being able to switch careers and not necessarily have to take a pay cut. And that's something that I'm noticing, is that, like, it wasn't even just a pay cut. People were taking pay increases. Okay. They're taking pay increases. Okay. Pay jumps, baby. And so with that, this is the thing about middle management and seasoned professionals that I think is so interesting. Middle management within corporate is where a lot of things break. Most things break at the middle of the organization. Because if you think about it, on the lower end, at the more associate or junior level, they're very much so executionary. They're kind of doing a little bit more lower level work. When you're at the executive level, that is very much so where you're setting the strategic vision. You need people that are setting the pace forward. But in the middle is where the core operations happen. You get the most experience, but also those are things where things are very, very fragile. And so where companies are looking into make sure that they have people that have enough experience, they have enough grit, they have enough clarity on what it is that they're good at, or at least like maybe they just fell into the role, I don't know, to make sure that the company runs, right? So these are your directors, these are your senior managers, these are your VPs, right? And something that I've noticed, especially if you are a millennial, I'm not going to make it Gen Z or Gen X because I just feel like psychographically that doesn't make sense. But I'm going to say, just for the sake of like age-wise, most millennials have been operating from a work philosophy that's outdated. Right? When I first started, I was supposed to be a dentist, right? I was supposed to be a dentist. I got in somebody's mouth. I was like, Godspeed, this is not my ministry. I'm going to head on out, because somebody had gum cancer, and I saw everything that I needed to see to know that that was not for me, right? And so me having to graduate with essentially a behavioral health and sciences degree, I knew I wanted to go into media, into marketing, but I just didn't know how to do it. I didn't know how I was going to reposition the language of all of these medical articles that I've been writing into something that would be sexy enough to make it over into an advertising agency or into a media company. So cool. Honestly, I networked my way in, and it wasn't just a matter of schmoozing and asking people for jobs. There were very strategic elements that I noticed about how to create value with people and how to showcase that, like, you're going to win regardless with or without them. But now that essentially inspires the person that is speaking to you that has no relationship to you to want to help, because winners like rocking with winners. People like helping people that are knowing that like the risk of me putting my name on the line with this person is going to be low. They're actually probably going to make me look better. Okay? And so with that in mind, I ended up switching industries from health. So when going over to health, then going over to fashion, then to beauty, then to media, then to tech, and now into HR, right? And not one time did I take a pay cut. And I didn't know that that was the case up until, because I was concerned. My biggest focus point, so back to the initial point, my biggest concern was I don't want to look like a millennial that's job hopping, right? Because that was the conversation, particularly in the job market face, that if you look at somebody that their resume shows that they stayed at this job for this amount of time, or they're only there, they're not there for a year, or whatever the case is, they are likely to be a flight risk, which in theory makes sense, but in practice it does not. Because one of the things that I did notice is I was actually working on a startup. I had a side hustle, and I had multiple years of experience happening simultaneously while I had the credibility of my resume, right? So while I'm working at, let's say, insert whatever big name company, I actually was growing a company from a group chat to 8,000 people nationwide. I was also being featured over in publications. I was doing public speaking engagements. So in theory, when I look at the depth of experience, that's somebody that's probably been in that role, that has probably had the experience of maybe 10 years when I was at the 5-year mark. And also not including the fact that I'm being overworked, or I allowed myself to be overworked, to the point where the taking on the responsibilities of managers, or people that did not know how to manage, or people that just didn't know how to do their job, because it always falls on you, right? These elements were starting to build into my career, right? And so with that in mind, I recognized that I had more things in the kitchen sink that I could pull out and put on whatever resume that I wanted, because it wasn't a lie, it was a different story. And so one of the things that I've recognized about seasoned professionals in particular is that we are creatures of habit. And in being creatures of habit, we tend to lean on the story that we are most familiar with, not realizing that there's so many different stories that you could tell. So many different stories that you could tell about your career, about yourself, about your life, etc. And so that was essentially the play, right? What is the right story to tell to the right audience that's going to see that not only am I capable, I'm qualified. So most seasoned professionals are more than qualified for these roles, and what ends up happening is they're targeting the wrong roles, and because they're not getting the feedback, or they're perceiving the feedback that, hey, I had a recruiter call, they said that, I had tons of experience, but this might not be a good fit, but they're recommending me to a junior role. You get that feedback from one recruiter, and now you're on the job boards looking at all these junior level, entry level roles with 3 years of experience. Meanwhile, you've been at your company for 6-7 years. The idea that a pay cut is going to happen, naturally it happens. The pay cut has to happen, unless you're going by industry to industry. But the idea that a lot of the pay cut conversation happens because we don't perceive ourselves to be qualified, or we're not targeting the right roles. Y'all, is that making sense for y'all? I know it's a couple of us in here. So with that in mind, I noticed that the pay cut conversation was really a misconception. It was a misalignment. It wasn't the truth. And it's not the truth still right now in this moment. Like, you can skill up. You could get skills from wherever. And if you have proof and you got results, they're going to hire you because you can solve a problem. Just make sure that the person that you're talking to has a problem you can solve. If you interview with people that don't have the problem you can solve, and it doesn't make sense, or you're giving them every little, like, especially, this is another thing, especially like if you are the person that has 17 jobs under one job title, and you go into your interview and you're like, yeah, I could do this. I could do project management. I can do account management. I can create decks. I could rap. I could sing. I could braid hair. Like, all of that, we gotta dead it. We gotta dead that. We literally have to dead that because we're overwhelming the person to the point where they can't even sort through the right story of what you're trying to say. And the best thing that they say is like, all right, well, this person has a lot of skills. They don't even know where to place themselves. So I'm going to offer them up into a more junior level role that has the capabilities of them being more of a generalist versus something that's a little bit more specific or sophisticated. So yeah, I'm going to offer this person up a junior level role because I think that they're competent, but I just can't make it make sense with the story that they're telling me. And so that's the reason why the pay cut conversation ends up coming up. You're targeting the wrong person with the wrong message. Okay? So with that, I say all that to say to give you context in terms of how I have designed the program over within the majors, right? And where we're seeing these results of people that are not just hoping that they can hold on to they coins from the last job that's probably overpaying them to begin with anyway. Let's keep it a stack. They're probably underpaying them rather anyway, and they go over to an opportunity in the right market with the right message and the right qualifications, and they hit a lick. It's like that's I'm talking about this at a very like principle level so y'all understand why this works and where maybe your own personal blind spots come into play. So if you are interviewing and you're nervous or you're apprehensive or you have this analysis paralysis of like, okay, I want to shift, but I don't really know what to do, or I tried, but it didn't make sense. And it's just like, we have to really do our part and stop blaming companies sometimes for our own like poor communication skills. Like, that is something that I notice within myself. This is not a dig or a drag to anybody. This is years of me being rejected. Job offers rescinded. Like, girl, I done lived 9 lives. 9 professional lives. Okay? And so, I say all that to say, I'm sharing this from a very like high level, principle level of why you do not have to take a pay cut and where the blind spot really is and what you need to do to start to shift your messaging, or how, like what areas you need to start to shift your messaging and really start to think from the lens of the person that's hiring you. Think about all the reasons why they would say no. Dismantle their objections and start to craft those into your responses, right? And just being a lot more diligent and just a lot more in control of ourselves. Like, I get it. I understand, like, the toxic workplace environment. I have survived it time and time again. Like, you could ask some of my homies that have gotten phone calls from me during lunchtime crying like, I can't believe that they would try to play me in my face. Like I have seen it and done it all, right? Like, I truly understand it. Now, one of the things I recognize and looking back on it is, one, there was a point that I knew I needed to leave that company and I overstayed my welcome. And because I was so emotionally invested into this company, I didn't really want to leave because I didn't want to start over as the new girl. I didn't want to restart that process of feeling like I am now having to be a fish out of water in my professional career when I just started to get my groove. So I'd rather just get promoted. Right? Knowing that internal promotions are not, unless you're really at a company like that really be about that life, internal promotions are not necessarily going to be the most lucrative from a financial perspective, but it really depends on what your actual goal is. So let's just say the goal is finances, right? Let's say the goal is salary increases because we're talking about livelihood. We're talking about those elements of it. Really, when it comes down to it, I knew at any point that if I was overstaying, like if I was miserable at my job, I had already gotten inklings that I should have left earlier. I was just too scared to do it. I was just too scared. I was too scared to do it. I was too scared to ask for help, or I was too afraid to admit that, like, I did not want to. I was actually too afraid to be embarrassed of being wrong about how I thought about my career, because not for nothing, this be the CEO of your career, look at your career as a body of work. I've been saying this since 2013. 2013. And I didn't have enough confidence in myself to really like lock in on it because I was relatively early in my career. But I've been saying this since 2013. And the funny thing about it is, one of my mentors at one of my earlier jobs, when I was asking for career guidance and career strategy, I'm like, yo, like, what can I do? I'm thinking about going this direction. I don't know. Like, should I stay? Should I go? Like, whatever. And he said to me, Bianca, I'm going to tell you this, and I'm going to just say it because I can't tell you what to do, but your job will always be on our corporate website. Your career will not. Manage your career. And that has been like the re-emphasis of me realizing that I have probably I put a higher expectation on managers to give me feedback over my career when they didn't even know what they were doing with theirs. And so I had to design my own advisory board, my own VIP network for somebody that was supposed to be a dentist and ends up in advertising and fashion. Y'all, it was all a lie. Okay, whatever the stay in a job, the concept of staying in a job and just being there for the sake of merit, or working your way over into whatever role that you feel like is going to validate your career. Like, because I was blending a lot of my identity with my job, so that's also another reason why I did not necessarily leave sooner than later. And now that we are removed, right, we have a little bit more space to think about, all right, we're in season 3 of a panoramic. Now what? Like, now what? And so that's where I really jumped in and was just like, all right, yo, I already have this concept in the back of my head that has been operating me to go into different directions, almost to the point where we're seeing people jump into finance. We're seeing people get internal promotions. We're seeing like the numbers are like, I'm pulling up. I set this intention to say I wanted to do $1 million in salary raises in a year. This is looking very feasible to happen in 6 months. Like, all I have to do is focus. So now, the 3 things that I have noticed about the clients that have they took the information and they ran. They dipped, right? They believed that it was possible for them, right? So I remember over on, I'm going to increase my skill set on marketing and letting y'all know that I actually have receipts, because sometimes I just be in the work, and now I'm really scaling out from a perspective of how I can help people. Maybe it's not necessarily one-on-one, but we had one client, and we just talked, and she had the information. We had one conversation, and she jump switched in 2 weeks. That was a 35K jump, because of the fact that she understood how to think about her transferable skills and what she needs to lean into, right? But that would not have been done if she was not like, okay, bet, I'm about to do it. Versus me giving her a pat on the back. Everybody like, are you okay? Oh, I don't know if I'm not. Like, I realized something about myself. And this is for all coaches, right? So, like, obviously, I have the majors. I would love to work with you if the qualifications make sense. If not, that's okay too. There are other things that may be a resource to you, but I can tell you that there are a number of amazing coaches over in this space, right? That are going to give you bangers. They're going to give you heat. Now, here's the challenge. The same way that a personal trainer cannot lose the weight for you, right? Same thing happens with a coach. Like, y'all have to believe yourself possible and start to embody the person that has the job. And all a coach is doing is saying, yeah, tweak this. Focus on this and tweak this. Yes, focus on this and reframe the story. And here's a strategy here. Here's what they're going to ask you. They're going to give you the plays. But if you don't believe that you're capable of making these plays happen, you're not going to see results. And I think that, honestly, I've just seen I want us to just be careful about how we talk to ourselves on a consistent basis, especially if you're like a part of the words of affirmation crew, right? If you're a part of that crew, let me tell you something. 5 words of affirmations in your journal in your morning routine is not going to beat the 300 negative ones that you were saying throughout the rest of the day, because it makes it so difficult for someone to help you if you don't believe that you are a person worthy of help. If you don't have the mindset to be like, yo, I can operate on faith and understanding that I'm preparing to get ready, versus trying to see a level of proof before you actually make it over to the point where you want to be. Right? Like, I know that, especially with people that are hyper intellectual, they're overachievers. They like to be, we call them critical thinkers, right? No, y'all are just anxious. Y'all are anxious. That's what that is. Y'all want all the pieces of information. You want it to be 100% perfect before you can make a move and make a decision, and that's the reason why you're stuck. The people that are no longer stuck realize that they're not stuck by actually stop using language that makes themselves weak. We're making ourselves weak when we don't have the right operating principles to talk to ourselves. I don't mean to drag, but I have to tell y'all, like this, I'm talking about the people that got the results. That's all I'm saying. Okay? I'm talking about the people that actually got the results. That they were willing to think a little bit differently about themselves. All of my clients have to actually operate from their alter ego. There's no such thing as hope. There's no such thing as like, well, I'm hopeful that they almost gotta get kicked out. Oh, well, I'm gonna try and reach out. If either you're gonna do it or you're gonna be it. Like, don't try, commit. Because what is that, like, what does that say about, like, especially like in this conversation of 6 figures, I'm trying to, see these numbers. I want to jump up to 200. Do you think that these jobs don't have responsibilities that's going to make you hold yourself accountable? Practice doing that now so you don't feel like an imposter by the time you get there. And so there's a full commitment to being the person prior to getting the result. You can't say, well, you can't be skeptic and be like, well, let me see before I reach out, or let me see before I see. Like, respectfully, I won't be able to help you. There's probably another coach that can help you, because now it's getting to the point where it's transitioning into therapy, and I'm responsible for results, not the trauma. I'm gonna address it and be empathetic to it, but when people work with me, they work with me for results. That's my MO. You might not like how I hold you accountable, because all I'm gonna do is hold up a mirror like, well, didn't you say this when we had that first conversation? You're gonna be like, I don't like how I need you to lower your tone. The tone that I'm using is the tone you use with me when you say you want to work together. And then they get the things that they want. So the bigger picture, I'm saying all that to say, is people will get results if they believe that it's possible for them. That's really what it comes down to. So the second piece, what did I write on here? The second thing that I noticed, operate is, okay, yeah. Operate as if it's already done. That's another piece. So one of the things that I have noticed, and I actually made a post about this, and I'm going to start reposting old content because I don't think y'all understand that. I've really been saying this for a minute. Managing your emotions is a skill. That is a high value skill. It's such an important skill. To be able to identify what emotions are coming up during things that are actually uncomfortable for you. In addition to being able to create how to self-manage yourself so you don't get in your own way. And emotional management is actually very critical when you are making big decisions around your career, because it's connected to a lot of pieces. I have found that people that do not have, or the clients that have made the results, had a high level of emotional management, because they recognized the difference between what was fear, what was anxiety, what was realistic, what was not. Like, they were okay with making mistakes, and they didn't internalize the mistake as them being a terrible professional, the weakest link on the team. They just didn't do that. They did not do that. They tried. Don't get me wrong. They tried. And then we had to tussle. And then they snapped back into shape where they had to really just take a look at themselves. So in being able to manage your emotions during something where everyone is saying, hey, this is just business, that's the biggest lie I think I've ever seen in professional development or career development or anything, is the fact that making decisions around your career is not personal. Everything is personal. Everything is personal. So when people say that, I think it's a little bit, what's the word? Gaslighty? Because the reality of it is this work that I'm doing or the job that I have is contingent upon people's counting on me, right? I'm first gen, so I know that me getting a big old corporate job or me being successful in business or me being whatever means something to people behind me. Or the people that were in front of me, and then they couldn't make it happen, but they put me in position to win. So it's not just a business decision, it's personal. There are people that are relying on your success. So they operate as if they already have it. So when you practice embodying something that you already have, you don't have to fake the funk during interviews. You don't have to fake the funk and pretend you're an imposter on the job because you already been that girl. You have to break your own habit of being in your own way in order for you to operate as if you already have the thing. Operate on a sense of faith. That everything is not happening to you, it's happening for you. And you have to repeat these stories to yourself. You have to practice being like, let me just, a negative thought, sometimes it's on autopilot. And when it's on autopilot, you have to do your own personal work to be like, this isn't a good thought right now. This isn't helpful. This is not helpful. I'm checking to see if I have a meeting, because one thing about me, when I get to chatting, I'm gonna go ham. One thing about me, I'm gonna turn up. The last thing is, y'all not gonna like this. Y'all not gonna like this statement I wrote down here. Stop the victim mentality, yo. We have to stop. We have to stop. We have to put an end to it. But this manager, they blocked my promotion and now I'm doing everyone's job and I'm going to tell you the truth. I'm going to tell you the truth. That you are way bigger than your circumstances, and it would be more beneficial if people treated you at your highest possibility instead of coddling you at where they think that you belong, because you are projecting this energy that, like, look at what everyone has done to me. I can't believe it. Like, yes, there are people that will play in your face, right? And it takes time to make sure, and it takes a very specific skill set to not internalize it and be like, wow, like, why would they do that? Like, dang, they really front on me like that. Wow, they're a hater. I can't believe that I worked so hard on this project and they still tried me. And now it's a decision. It's a hard decision. It's a simple decision, but it is difficult to not sit in as the victim of that storyline. Because I promise you, all of us have, well, I'm not speaking for y'all. There is a good number of folks, maybe it resonates with you or maybe it doesn't, I don't know, that have a story that they could be like, they played in my face and I can't believe it. And like, I want blood. We do. I do. Listen, I have enough stories, and I said this over in Career Switch, in the Career Growth Bundle as well too, because there are recordings over from Career Switch Up. I talked about the fact that, like I said, I have lived 9 lives where I have opted out of HR incidents that could easily turn into class action suits. And this is not to take away from people that are, taking that route. I respect everybody's decision for doing what's best for themselves, but I've seen a lot. I've seen a lot where I've had to make decisions that were best for me. And for me, I just feel like we have to replace the ways that we talk about ourselves, talk to ourselves, replace how we talk. And even as simple as the group chats, where you complain about the coworker over and over and over and over again, knowing that you're miserable. It hit a point on one of my jobs, I remember, I was so miserable. And it was, everybody knew it. But it was so normal, at least it was normal for me, but it was so normal that it was just like, it hit a point where I didn't even realize like how much of a negative Nancy I was becoming. And so when I had really finally decided that, I was like, yo, I'm gonna quit this place. And they were like, okay, good. They were like, okay, you got money, go ahead. And I was like, what? You gonna let me quit? They're like, you're miserable. You're miserable. The only things that we hear about as it pertains to work in your career is how miserable you are. Make a decision. Make a decision. And I think that when you get challenged, like I have really good friends around me. I have a really good network. I appreciate that. And they had to kind of force me into creating a new routine, creating a new story, and recreate the same ways that we see on these, Instagrammable quotes about healing and self-care and all. It's applicable, y'all. Everything is transferable. It's transferable. The ones that got the results, they could look at a fact and decide what their attitude was going to be toward that fact. They could look at a fact and decided that, all right, cool. This was jacked up and I'm still going to blow up on y'all. Yeah, this wasn't right, but I'm still going to go left. You know what I mean? Like, I think that is something to consider about, the routine and just replaying the same story over and over and over again. The narrative, because we're so beholden to it, it feels right, like it's validating our existence. Like, let it go and go start something else new. Start a new chapter. We don't even care about them people's opinions anyway. Thanks for coming to my sermon. It's Tuesday's sermon. I will pass the collection plate if you would like to donate. You know what I mean? Anyway, so I said all that to say, I want to share just like those 3 key things that I've noticed about the people that were able to get the information, be in the right headspace, and dip. And I was like, wow, thanks for coming. And not only were they able to leave their jobs, they made the same play. They rinsed and repeated the same play for wherever that was next, which I thought was impressive. Because that's how I knew. I'm like, okay, I know. Like, I'm smart, right? I'm smart. And I know that a smart person can teach a smart person something generally, moderately, like, maybe, I don't want to say difficult, but they could teach something. They could teach another smart person something, right? That being said, I just feel like if I can do it, you can do it, okay? Like, I just feel like I'm smart, but I ain't. My last name ain't Bezos. Last name ain't Bezos. Last name ain't Jobs. No, ma'am. No, ma'am. I'm just here. Smart ass. Thank you so much, Kadisha. Hi, Bianca. Hi, Kadisha. And that's how you pronounce your name, child. Over here being real friendly. I just feel like everybody can take that same action for themselves and just start to look at their career as if they were the CEO, and it'll make decision making a little bit more, it'll make your decision making less anxious. Because there are people in this space that I follow and even have just like poured into me, mentored, and I watch not just solely like what job or what title that they have. I watch how they move. It's very intentional. So at a very surface level, someone looking at like a job that's like a pay, it's like, no, that's not it. Just because it wasn't a promotion to you doesn't mean it wasn't a promotion for them, because there's a bigger picture that they are designing, and I see it. And when it all lands together, and it's just like, yeah, they were playing a different game. And I would want that for y'all too, personally, because I recognize how much the conversation around job titles, around your identity to work, around your value, around productivity, around all these things are they're changing. They have changed. I mean, yeah, we're in season 3 of the pandemic. Season 3, season 4. I don't know what season we're in. But in whatever season that we're in, pre-panty, we was I can't even like we were like little Tasmanian devils. And now we had some time to actually just like sit with it and think about it and go for it. And I just recognize that like a lot of people that are doing that work now, they were doing it pre-panty. A smart guy said to me, in my 20s, you can be 40 doing PR making 50,000, or you could be 40 in PR making 500,000. I'm going to teach you how to make 500. Listen, change my whole. That's the thing. I think that's what I'm realizing. Because, so when I first decided to go into the career coaching space, I didn't like the idea of speaking to like, I don't know, like the fluffy career content information that I felt like was getting. Like, it was just like you got an emotional high and that was it. And it was just like, ooh, don't, what they said back over in all the panels, because I know I said it, that was my go-to line, like, when they say, what do you bring to the table? You are the table. Ooh, girl, what a time. Ooh, it was dark. But I'm realizing what was trying to be communicated through some of those hook statements is it's the TikTok with that dude that be like, you think it's small. You think it's small. Like, that's what they were trying to communicate to us in TikTok form. But the mindset piece, there have been people that I think are dumb as bricks, glowing up, hitting every lick that they could get. Every lick. And it's just because they had the audacity to just go for it, and they weren't, and they were playing a different game. They were playing a very, very different game. And I think that being one of the first ones to play a different game feels very, very uncomfortable. And then it'll slow you down. Let me see what my good sir is over here talking about. Change my whole mindset. We have been operating in a mindset of lack. Listen, when there is abundance all around us, it was all a lie. It was all a lie. That's what I be trying to tell y'all. It was all a lie. That's what I be trying to say. Nobody hear me though. I was smart AF and I never had anyone to speak abundance over my crew. Pastor, do you have ties that you would like for us to drop into? Ties. Let me give my crinkly dollar. Let me give it my crinkly dollar. My little crinkly dollar. And put that in there, because that was abundance. And you just create so much flexibility for yourself, bro. Like, damn. I can't wait to start the majors. Period. Actually, let's chat in a little bit. I'm gonna teach my mentees how to make twice one. But this is what I'm saying. Michelle Obama said, when you get to the table, you'll find out a lot of people that aren't that smart to begin with. They never listen. They definitely aren't smarter than you. What they gonna do? Beat you? Honestly, that's a very sober experience, especially if you have been operating from trying to earn your way, or through validation. In your careers, when you finally get validated and you're at the table, said table or rooms, that you have been fighting so hard to be in, and you're like, oh, wait a minute, the jig is up. Everybody get your hands up. What's the procedure when you realize this person ain't got no brain? Happens all the time. I also want to say on the flip side of it, there's also another element of recognizing that people are hired on their perception of being able to achieve things versus like the receipts, right? So this is where I feel like when we enter into some of these rooms and we're like, how y'all get here? Like, y'all really don't know what y'all doing. It's just like they don't know what they're doing, but they were hired because they knew that they could probably figure it out. So if that's the case, right? Like I had a client reach out to me. It was just like, hey, I don't actually, I know that you don't do sales trainings, but I want you to create one. I said, who, me? You want me? Me? You not me? You think I'm cute? Yes, I know. But they're hired on the way that they show up and like, okay, this is transferable, right? So if that's the case, if people are getting, if there are still people in these spaces getting hired on their perception to figure it out, if that's the case, why not you? We know you can figure it out. It's just a matter of you believe that you're worthy of that opportunity, and if you're okay with making mistakes. And if you're not gonna hit yourself over the head for making a mistake. Like your managers that y'all be over here talking junk about over in the group chats that have no managerial experience, there's a part of them that performed maybe as an individual contributor really, really well. And the expectation or the logic, sometimes flawed, is, okay, if this person was excellent over in this role by themselves, why not they should have a team so they can create a whole system that does the exact same thing, just 3x. That's why you'll see that. You know what I mean? The first time you meet that dumb AF white boy millionaire who had a half an idea and a good head of hair, you'd be like, how? It was all a lie. I should have named this lie. It was all a lie. It was all a lie. The scarcity mindset will suffocate every dream you have. Let me tell you something. Please don't sleep on yourselves no more. I know I got a couple minutes left of just to share my thoughts and also to tell y'all that applications for the majors are closing on September 30th. I said 13th. September 30th. So if that is something that you are interested in doing, please hit that link. Apply and see if we can work together. And if you do not apply, there are going to be other ways for us to work together. So no sweat on that. But just don't sleep on yourselves no more, y'all. Like, it's just, like, don't you be tired of your own BS sometimes? Like, I'm tired of me. I'm tired of me. Let me move myself. Hold on. Take me out. Let me just take yourself out the way and go get your coin. And the thing about it, it's not even just the money. The money is a representation of some of the things that you may not be able to do in this moment. Think about it that way. Like especially if you're negotiating, you're not just negotiating to survive. You're negotiating for your future self. And if your future self is looking back and being like, dang, like, why don't you just ask for a little bit more? Why don't you go harder, advocate for yourself a little bit more? Why don't you just go get the help and ask the questions and commit to something instead of starting and stopping because you got discouraged? Like, we got to build some muscle, y'all. We got to build a little bit more muscle and be in charge, especially for the things that we can control. Okay? Wow, y'all really rocked out with me for a full hour and some change. Oh, not a full hour. What time is it? I jumped on here. I don't know what time. I was supposed to jump on here at 4. In my empty apartment, it's so loud in here when you don't have a couch and all these things are happening. I'm in the process of a full-on cross-country move. Girl, it is the ghetto. Ra-ta-ta-ta. So yes, the majors. Link in bio. Also, if you're like, not necessarily ready for the majors yet, there is a complimentary, there's a complimentary guide that'll help you identify the 4 mistakes that seasoned professionals make that actually forces you over into a pay cut. Look at that, right? And there's other opportunities that will come, but I just want to say, like, this is the last iteration of me working with people directly. The rest of the year is going to be a little bit scale back passive, because technically speaking, like, okay, so next week, so first of all, can we talk about how September 2nd to September 19th happened in 2 days? Who did it? Who done it? Wait, what day are we in? September 20th. Yeah, 2 days. 2 days. 2 of them things. Okay? 2. Because yesterday was September 2nd. How are we on the 20th? Calling the police. But yeah, anyway, so this is going to be the last iteration of me working with people directly, especially going to the holiday season. Like, let's be real. Once we hit October, we already got the Halloween candy out. And once they take away the Halloween candy, like, respectfully, I'm going to just start telling y'all Merry Christmas on Monday. Like, respectfully. Like, there's nothing else that I could do. Like, Christmas is already here. So at that point, this is really where I'm focusing in on my attention. So if that's something that you are interested in, applications are open through September 30th, but I hope that this was valuable for y'all. I love chatting with y'all. I know I have not been on live in the last couple of days, but I just want to tell y'all a secret that I've been holding on to as to why I have not been on a live. Y'all ready? I'm a superhero. I can't believe I said that I can't believe I let y'all know that. Like, I'm a superhero, and that's the reason I have not been here. I'm giving y'all Clark Clintonian, okay? Thanks for joining. I will talk to y'all soon. Bye!